Hello everybody, Bradley here, and if you're anything like me, every time you play a game of Civilization, you get through the first 150 turns, and no matter what civ you're playing, no matter what your plan was, no matter what victory condition you were going for, you have that moment where something happens, someone makes you grumpy, something annoying happens, you're just a bloodthirsty warmonger, and you go, I kind of feel like nuking somebody this game, and you start, you go to the science tree, you click on the nukes, you're ready to go, you want to do that. However, what you might not realize is there's actually a little bit of strategy that you can use to make nukes even more effective in your games and actually help you win some of them. So I'm going to talk about some of my favorite ways to use nuclear weapons to actually help me in Civilization 6 other than just being a meme that's fun to do every game. So let's hop in and check it out. We're in the game now, and we are using our save file from our 1 million gold challenge, which was a very different game of Civ than normal, so feel free to ignore all the wacky yields at the top. We did some weird things this game. What you shouldn't ignore, though, is all the links in the description below. We got a Twitter account that's fun. We got a Discord server where you can talk about Civ and Wordle. We got a Twitch stream where you can come and watch us live, where we played this 1 million gold challenge game recently on the VODs. We even did a fun Eleanor game. We also have a VB live channel. If you want to watch the live stream VODs on YouTube after they happen, you can follow the link in the description for that. It is time to start nuking some people, though. So before we actually launch some nukes, I want to be very clear. This is more of a meme than it is an actual tutorial. Nukes are easy to use, they're absolutely destructive, and once you've unlocked their power, it is very easy to win a game of Civ, considering you can just tear the whole map into smithereens immediately. However, that doesn't mean there aren't best case use scenarios for nukes and best ways to use them, and I did want to go over some of those just for some newer players who might just launch nukes all willy-nilly, or if you're watching the AIPL, we've seen the Poundmaker nuke the city center 3 times, and that's not ideal. So let's talk about nukes. For this example, we have a couple of nukes and a couple of thermo nukes. That's going to be very important because they are obviously quite different. And for our nuke launching, what are we calling this? Our nuke launching area, our nuke launching device, we are going to use nuclear submarine armadas. For those of you who are unaware, there are certain things in Civ that can actually block your nukes. If this has never happened, that's awesome. If the first time it happens, it's going to be incredibly frustrating. I know giant death robots can block your nukes. There are a few other ways to get your nukes blocked, but if a unit can block your nuclear weapons from discharging, it means it has a higher combat strength than the thing that launched the nuclear weapon. In most of my games, I end up using bombers to launch nukes. That's a very good plan. In very few of my games, I end up using silos to launch nukes, although it does happen from time to time. What you really want to do, though, if you're being perfectly optimal, is get a nuclear submarine armada. It has been confirmed by the developers of Civilization 6 that this is the only unit with a sufficient combat strength to never have their nuclear weapon blocked. So if this is not true, then this is, I was told by an actual developer of the game that this is true. From my experience, it's absolutely true. But if you launch your nuclear weapon out of a nuclear submarine armada, there is nothing in Civ 6 that can block that nuclear weapon. It will hit its target every single time. So, if you're being most efficient, you want to use nuclear submarine armadas, although that's not always possible and you don't always have them. We're going to use them for this example just to show them off a little bit. For our target, we're going to nuke poor Japan here. This is going to be a little unfortunate, but we're going to have some fun and we're going to make this work. We're going to use a domination-like scenario. Most of the times you're launching nukes, you're going for a domination win or something like that, and so we're going to pretend like our goal here is capturing Kyoto to add to our collection of capitals for the domination victory. So let's declare war on Kyoto here. That should be nice and easy to do. I could have just declared a formal war, but that's no fun. We're going to surprise him. Now Tamaris is mad. That is awesome. So let's try and grab ourselves Kyoto here. So the first thing we need to talk about is why nukes actually help us accomplish this. Obviously, nukes are very destructive. The main thing they do for us in a domination scenario, though, is they instantly melt the walls and the health of a city, which means you can nuke them and take them in the same turn. We're going to do it in back-to-back turns for this, but it is a very efficient way to capture cities. Instead of even bombers, which are very efficient as well, take a couple of turns to get going. So if you're at the end of a domination game and you really just need this one final capital, nukes are always going to be the quickest way to do that. The other thing they do, which is either a good or a bad thing depending on the situation, is they just immediately nuke out some population. So we're going to explore that and talk about it, but not only do they just wipe out the walls and the health very quickly, they start eliminating population from your enemy, which means they're going to not have as many tiles to work. All of the tiles they can work are going to be blown out with radiation, and so it's a really quick and effective way to reduce yields from an opponent too. If you've hit nukes and someone's up really close to you in a space race and you don't really want to go through all the trouble of destroying their whole empire with units to stop them, you can usually just nuke a few kind of district centers, and that'll really start taking away a lot of yields from the enemy, which can be very helpful as well. In any case, though, for now, let's pretend our objective is Kyoto here. We want to take Kyoto with a nuke. So the first thing we have to figure out with cities that you're nuking to capture is where do you want to capture them from? Right? Because if we nuke the city center here, we're going to have a radius of radiation to deal with. And so I want to capture them from the water in this case. It might be on land for you, but you do want to figure out which unit and which direction you are capturing the city from. In this case, we're using our destroyers, and we're going to capture them here from the east. Why this is important is because when I launch my nuke here, I have a couple of options to hit. So we're going to launch an ordinary nuke for this first round here, knowing that if it's in the blast radius, Kyoto will just be like blown to smithereens, right? So the normal nuclear weapons have a radius of 1 tile around the center. So whichever tile I pick to nuke, all of the other tiles are going to be affected by that nuke. All of the other tiles in 1 circle around it, right? So it's the tile you nuke and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tiles around it. So I want Kyoto to be the tile that, or be one of the 6 tiles that gets nuked. But what I don't want are any of these water tiles to be the tiles that get nuked, because I don't want my destroyers sitting in radiation any longer than they have to. I want to keep my entry point into the city nice and free from radiation, which means I'm going to choose to radiate over here instead. That makes our choice pretty simple. It's a small distinction and maybe won't make a difference because nukes are so powerful anyway, but in the case of efficiency here and just optimizing, I'm going to launch my regular nuke. I want to launch it here at the Cristo Redentor. What that's going to do, it's going to take out a couple of districts, which is whatever, right? But what it's going to do is it's going to allow Kyoto to get hit with the radiation and be blown to smithereens without affecting any of these water tiles that I'm using for my boat. So we're going to launch our nuke here. It's going to be awesome. And we're going to launch it at the Cristo Redentor. It looks really sexy coming out here. Look at that. Woo! There's nothing that's going to block this. It's going to be awesome. And boom! Kyoto's taken out. Only 1 population got killed. That's cool. That's awesome. That doesn't normally happen, right? But as you can see, walls down, health down. This city can just be taken in the next turn by these destroyers. So now I can sneak into Kyoto with one of my destroyers and take the city. If this was my last capital I needed to capture for the domination victory, it would automatically end the game, so I wouldn't need to worry about anything else. But we're going to come in here and we are going to take the city. Leaving this water unradiated gives my unit a really easy escape, and it won't die to radiation. But it also doesn't have a chance of getting zone of controlled into radiation over here. I can just come in, take the city, and leave. One of the things that's happened is actually what I wanted to happen here, is that now we're losing loyalty. We're actually going to lose this in 3 turns. Part of the reason is when we nuked the city, it took away population. And then when we took the city, it took away even more population. Now, there's a lot of things we can do to fix this loyalty problem. We can do all kinds of things, from putting governors in there to switching our policy cards and all of the normal things you would do to improve loyalty. However, you can add nukes to be part of that plan as well. That doesn't mean you shouldn't do all the other things. We should still move a governor in here and do all that. But what we're going to do right now is we're going to check in here and we are going to see what our loyalty level is like. We are losing 15.8 loyalty per turn, and pressure from nearby citizens is minus 18.3. So all of the citizens of Okayama, of Shizuoka, 2 very populated cities, are putting pressure on Kyoto. What I can do now, though, is actually use the nukes not to take these cities, but to reduce the population. If I launch a thermo nuke, which has a 2-tile radius, right? So the thermo nuke has a 2-tile radius. If I not launch a thermo nuke at this theater square, it'll take out Okayama, reducing the population, and take out Shizuoka, reducing the population as well, which should give me a little bit of an immediate reprieve on the loyalty penalty we're facing. So what we're going to do is I'm going to launch a thermo nuke at this theater square, and we're going to watch the entire thing because it's fun, and we like war crimes. Oh dear. So terrifying, isn't it? That traitor is in trouble. There we go. So we knocked 10 population out of Shizuoka and a bunch out of Yokoyama as well. So let's skip the turnover. I'm not going to adjust anything else. And now let's see how bad our loyalty problem is. So without even looking at the under the hood numbers, I can see that it's already helped. We were about to lose Kyoto in 3 turns last turn, and now we're losing it in 4, so we've kind of gained a whole turn there. But if I go under the hood now, we went from 18.5 or whatever it was down to 11.4. So we've been able to kind of clear out some of these citizens in a very, very nice, loving way. And we've been able to take 5 loyalty per turn off the pressure. Now we can repeat the process. We can thermo nuke again to remove population. What we can also do though, is we can just now buy a unit here and actually raise these cities. So if I want to get rid of the population entirely to fix this loyalty issue, because the nuke is so effective, I can just simply buy a unit in this encampment, which was luckily for us not nuked, and take Shizuoka out and raise it, and take Okayama out and raise it, thus fixing my whole problem. Now, while this bit of the strategy might have been a little bit obvious to people who are very experienced using nukes, I think there's a little bit here to learn for everybody, right? Making sure that when you're nuking the city you're trying to take, you're leaving yourself an entry and exit point, so you can escape the nuclear radiation with your units, or at least rotate units in and out to take the radiation in turns. Making sure that you have backup nukes to help you with loyalty right away. Because you're taking out so much population with the nuke and capturing the city, you need to make up for that somehow, and having nukes at hand to take away population from other cities can be very helpful as well. Now that we've talked about using nukes to help you in a domination victory in some really subtle but, simple and easy to use ways in your games, let's talk about just how to use nukes passively to help you in a game, right? Let's say you're going for a science victory, you're going for a culture victory, you built a few nukes. I wouldn't recommend that for a culture victory, but hey, you're playing your own game, you're going for a victory condition, and you've built some nukes along the way because you like nuking people. How do you best use those nukes? Now what we're going to do is kind of show off how nukes can kind of neuter someone's economy without actually doing too much damage to their cities, or at the very least, doing damage to a person that we have no intention of stealing their cities. For this example, we're going to use Gaul. There's a lot here that we can take a look at. There's a few different places I have in mind that would be awesome. There's a lot of farms in here. This is providing a lot of food to some cities, right? Getting rid of these farms would really help lower the population in some of these cities and really neuter them. But what I want to do is I just want to hit some districts right now to show you just the effect nukes can have on pure yields that we can measure in this video. So right now, Gaul has 519 science and 304 culture. I'm going to launch some nuclear weapons at some district circles here, and we're going to see how much damage we can do with these 2 nukes we have in store to kind of neuter their economy. This can be very helpful in close games. You're playing Civ, you're in a space race, someone is close behind you, you want to slow them down so you can inch across the finish line. Nukes are a great way to do that quickly and easily. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to launch a thermonuclear weapon over here by this mountain tunnel. If I launch a thermonuke right here, it won't take out any city centers, and so that won't have any effect on the population. What it is going to do, though, is take out 2 theater squares, 1 there and 1 there. It is also going to take out 2 campuses, 1 there and 1 there. And what's important to understand is once I take these out, they're rather unrepairable while they have nuclear waste on them. So this is a very good long-term option for kind of keeping your enemy's yields low, where you can progress farther along in the game. So we are going to launch this thermonuke right here and see what happens. I haven't actually tried this yet, so we'll see how much damage we can do here. And of course we're going to watch the entire thing. Where is this being launched from? Oh, there we are. Found it. Oh dear. Oh me. Oh my. Such violence. Perfect. Look at that. Awesome. Already down to 430, so that was pretty destructive. Already down to 430. I want to say that's like a good 25% reduction on both pretty easily just launching a nuke. I didn't realize that was going to change this turn. I thought we were going to have to wait for the next turn. Now, the next place I want to tackle is somewhere in here, right? Like, I'm taking a look at this. I can take out this encampment, this theater square, that's pretty chill. We got some good tiles over here as well. I wouldn't mind taking out a spaceport. Up here, though, we can take out another campus, which is interesting. So I'm going to pick a target over here and see how much damage we can do with a regular nuke. I think I'm simply going to nuke this mountain right here. We're going to take out a campus, we're going to take out a theater square, we're going to take out some good tiles right here, and we'll see what happens with this. So we're 430 and 251. This shouldn't do as much damage. But combined in a single turn for nukes we kind of had anyway, this is a really good chunk of damage to slow down Gaul here. Impressive. So impressive. All right, so maybe we do have to tick the turnover. Nothing happened after that one, so let's tick the turnover and see what happens. Perfect. We are down to 381 and 240. Still quite a bit, right? Like, we didn't fully take it out. The best way to do this would have been to probably neuter some population along the way so there's less tiles to work. But what we did see here is that in this scenario where you're building some nukes anyway and you just want to start neutering your opponent's ability to keep going in the game, that was a really good chunk we took off. Probably around 200-ish science and probably another 200-ish culture in one turn with nukes we were building anyway. Not too bad. Considering as well that we've left the districts relatively unrepairable, it's going to be a while, or they have to clear the contamination, which is a whole another thing they're going to have to work with that the AI is not going to do. And so this is very much unrepairable for them. This is kind of a permanent lowering of their yields. They're not going to be able to get this back right away. This is awesome for us. Very, very valuable use of 2 nuclear weapons. Also worth keeping in mind, too, that all of this is additive. So if they've been at 600 science for 100 turns, it doesn't actually matter if you're lowering it because they've already unlocked everything. You need to be proactive with this strategy, but it does work for really taking someone out of the game relatively quickly. Another way you can use nukes, that I actually use nukes quite often in Civilization 6, is to stop people from winning science victories. So if you go and you see that someone has a science victory here, and you kind of want to stop them or slow them down or catch up or whatever it is you're going to do, what you can do is actually just search for all these spaceports in their territory, assuming you've visualized all their territory, of course. Search for the spaceports and then launch nukes at the spaceports. Something like this is good because you can launch a thermo nuke here and hit both spaceports. If their spaceports are taken out before they launch the exoplanet expedition, they're not going to be able to launch anything out of a busted spaceport. This is a really quick way to do like the sabotage spaceport mission. You just do it with nukes instead. So another very valuable use of nukes is simply just to take out spaceports. So their science yields aren't going to do them a whole lot of good if they can't actually physically launch anything into space. So that's another quick way to take out someone from a science victory if they're kind of doing the process, but they've already been at a high science level for a couple of turns, and you don't think that removing their science per turn is going to be helpful because they've already unlocked anything. Another fun thing you can do, and a way I've used nukes in the past, is to actually use nukes to control a choke point on the map. If you are next to an enemy, Argos would be a good example. Let's say I'm fighting Argos here. Maybe what I want to do is I want to nuke their harbor area here so that any boats they want to build or use to attack me kind of have to sit in a nuclear wasteland for a turn or two, which really damage their ability to do that. A lot of times you'll find playing Civ that you're kind of next to someone. Here would be a good example, right? If you're Civ-ass here and you're next to Ephesus, this kind of mountain range here is really the only way in to be attacked. That may be something you might think about nuking here, just to block off this area from them coming this way. I guess in that case you'd hit the city center, but you guys get my point, that there are choke points on the map that you can use and block off via nuclear waste, in which case you're not using the nuke to destroy the enemy's yields or to destroy their cities. You're using it to leave nuclear waste on a portion of the map that the enemy's units either have to avoid or sit in. In this case, what I want to do is I want to block off this choke point here. What I'd like to do is nuke this little mountain tile here so this whole choke point is blocked off and no boats can pass through here without going through the nuclear radiation. A lot of his boats kind of come through here and they pass through either way. I can't really do that because I'm not allowed to nuke Greece right now. He's my friend. I can kind of do it though in the sense that without redoing this whole game for this tutorial, I can come here and I can launch my thermo nuke at this tile right here, and it's going to cover quite a bit of this choke point. The thought being, and normally I wouldn't want to destroy this, but the thought being that if I leave nuclear waste on the tiles around the area, then the units passing through it are going to incur a little bit of damage. They're not going to be able to sit there. It's going to be a lot more annoying for him to maneuver his units throughout the map like this. And you'll see that nuclear radiation just kind of sits there and it poisons the ground a little bit and makes sure that you're able to really control that choke point. It doesn't happen in many games. It doesn't even happen all that often, but in the games I have used just the nuclear kind of radiation to control a choke point, and it has been rather fun, and now he's going to have a hard time getting his boats through here. Before we finish this video, I just wanted to circle back to Kyoto here. I popped a governor in while I played around in this game a little bit more here, and it actually worked out really well. You know, we put a governor in, getting rid of this population helped with loyalty. Now we have the capital city. Because we left the ocean tiles alone, they just so happen to also be very good tiles for us to work, so we're getting lots of food and growing really quickly despite that half of our city is a nuclear wasteland, and this couldn't have really gone better using some of the strategies we talked about. In any case, that should do it for this video. Hopefully a quick-ish video, just going over some of the ways to be a little more efficient with your nuclear weapons, remembering that they are like super OP and destructive and will pretty much just dominate anyway. I hope you at least picked up on something that you can do in your games just a little more efficiently, or something you're like, ooh, something he said was awesome. I'm going to kind of take that, work with it, and create my own new nuke idea. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe button. Check out all the links in the description, and obviously, you know, make sure you are ready for more awesome content on the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in the next one.